What's up? What's up? What's good? This is Cal Burlock coming to you from Black Men Goals Challenge. It occurs to me that we all have been enduring these last several months an onslaught of ads. Ads, 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 ads on every form of media that we own. Ads. I don't care if you agree or disagree. It's too much for everybody. How are we as free citizens, free thinking people, healthy people? How do we claw back our time? How do we cancel the ads? Well, first you need to understand where they come from. And look, I'm not a debater. I'm not in it for the debate. I'm in it for real action and movement and change. I am that high school teacher. I've taught at some of the most illustrious high schools around the Atlanta area, written curriculum. I know my stuff. I'm not here to debate anybody. I'm just here to give you that kind of energy. Education and scholarship are primary. So anyway, back to the subject at hand. Ads originate from pimpin' black people. Let me explain. These ads that you see are connected to the amount of money that people are able to deposit into politics, right? Into the candidates of their choice. So at 2010, there was a case called Citizens United versus the Federal Elections Commission. And in that case, they ruled and claimed a First Amendment right to free speech. They also relied on a belief in what's called corporate personhood, that a business, an organization of moneyed interest, private, foreign, any kind that you might imagine, right, has the right of a person, a citizen who has the right to free speech, the right to privacy, the right to protection from search and seizure, the right to all kinds of things that a citizen, as a man or a woman in America, you would expect to have. They begin to claim and claw those rights for themselves. And those rights are, in corporate personhood, were claimed through the 14th Amendment. Now remember, the 14th Amendment was passed in 1868. It's called the Equal Protections of the Laws Clause, but basically it is to ensure that these newly freed slaves, yes, our ancestors, our proud ancestors who couldn't imagine the life that we live now, use it well. Anyway, the Supreme Court at that time they had passed the law, the amendment, the 14th Amendment, 1868, and says to this newly freed slaves, these 4 million slaves that are now free, we're going to give them and ensure the rights of all the laws that we've already passed for everybody else. So everything's going to be equal. Here's proof of it. They passed it. That was specifically for us. Do you not know in the 50 or so years after it was passed, it was used probably 604 times for other folks and rarely used for black folks? In fact, most of those cases failed. We've had a couple wins based on it, Brown Board Supportive Education, a couple other things, but it has been used by, homosexual, LGBT to gain rights, women. I mean, it's a stack of people that have used it, but the corporations have used it most effectively because now, since 2010, since the Citizens United case of 2010, now just 12 years ago, corporations have free speech. Corporations have free speech. And this means they snuck into this same case a provision about political spending, right? Now they don't only have free speech, they have the ability to spend the money on their candidate and not divulge who they are. Most of them claim to be nonprofits. They claim to be social welfare organizations, and they're super PACs. And they wield a lot of influence on everything that you see. And their primary tool is ads, right? So I'm telling you, where they come from, they didn't used to exist. When I was growing up as a kid, we didn't have that. No. What used to happen is that the running of campaigns were segmented into each party, and that central committee determined what ads would go out to the nation, what spending would be done. It was controlled by the party, and at least you had the austerity of that kind of control, of people who were following the laws and trying to make sure that democracy still existed and that was protected from corporate greed. Now we have a situation where out of 100 donors here in this past 2018 election or so, 100 donors controlled nearly 80% of all of the financing of the campaigns. This past election in November, the one we just went through, $10 billion spent in ads. $10 billion! Prior to this law, $5 million was spent in ads. Prior to the Citizens United, $5 million spent in ads. This past election, $10 billion. Each of those billions are 1,000 millions. 10 of them. Before the case, 5 million. So what I'm trying to explain to you is that the ability to transact and get information has been greatly harmed. No one is restricting the rights of a corporation if you protect the rights of an individual. Prior to now, the powers that be saw fit to protect the government's rights from corporations and money interests. Now we have a completely financed situation. Now, there's hope here. What do I think needs to be done? Supreme Court has been a problem for black folks throughout a lot of history. Just to mention to you, you think about the Reconstruction era, right after slaves, 4 million slaves were actually freed, and these amendments came to be. You had the radical Republicans who were really on the side of this newly freed men, freed women, these people. And laws were enacted to protect our transition. And not only that, we activated to build. We built the colleges, the Morehouses, the Howards, the Spelman. All of that happened in this period of time. Black folks got to work. We got free. You're talking about the most skilled workforce in the entire world at that time. You have to understand the most skilled workforce in the entire world at freedom at 1865. We knew every technical move. We ran all of agriculture. 80% plus of the country's GDP was in our hands and connected to us, and yet we were being exploited. Okay, what ended that though? What in a large part started to chip away at the gains that were had in those first couple years is the Supreme Court. Early 1870s decisions where they were striking down those civil rights amendments that had been put in place in the 1860s. So anyway, the point is, ads are from pimpin' black folks. You go to a law that was made to give rights here, claim that right abusively, and then use it to control, to build money, and allow control to happen on our government. So understand you're not getting a clean filter. There are certain things you can do about this. All right, I'm not one to complain about a solution. I'm not one to complain about a problem. I'm not enamored with being able to break that down. I'm a historian, a real one, okay? Secondly, so my solution for this, obviously, is media reform. Obviously, is campaign finance reform. If you want the ads to stop, then take it back to where it was prior to Citizens United. That law had been in place for over 100 years. You see, Citizens United flipped 100 years of law. My solution, get it back to the rights, at least, or some structure similar to what was prior, where the parties control financing. You freed up our time. We stopped hearing ads everywhere. Every time a commercial come on, you got to hear some bullshit. All right, and we know it's bullshit. And what it does to part of the population, it just says to them, well, check out of it. It's all garbage because that is my government. That is not your government, bro. You know what government is? Roads and bridges, education, how law enforcement treats you, whether you get money for businesses, whether you get money for your home, housing, affordable, the tax structure, environment, war, all the things that really matter, right? That back up a person who's on their individual grind. No one is against your individual love for self and family, your unit, your struggle. Hoorah, bruh. I'm in it too. At the same time, you have to be concerned about every other thing that impacts us, and it doesn't really take a lot. So don't think you have to give a bunch of time to this. What needs to happen is, in order to get it back to that, I think it's going to take Supreme Court action. Some president who's in, Biden is there. He could make the decision to add justices to the court, as well as put in a code of ethics that prohibits the state. The Supreme Court bar. There's a group of lawyers, specialized lawyers of the highly paid only. Now, you can't access those lawyers, you and I. They're Supreme Court bar lawyers, and they only argue to the Supreme Court. So the justices choose their cases based on who the law firm is that's referring it. You have to have that. So there's a big footprint of wealth that's controlling what even gets to the Supreme Court. So that that's completely against what the Supreme Court justice must cite on his oath, and there needs to be a code of ethics there. So yes, code of ethics. Yes, add more justices. It's so supremely important to do that right now because of what corporations have done. That would be the easiest route, is to, for the good of the country, add justices to the Supreme Court. Okay? They are literally cheating. We see it all. It's the same justices, Alito, Thomas, every now and then, John Roberts, he's in it too. You know, Anthony Kennedy, you know, he was the leading decision maker on Citizens United. But yes, those are the folks who voted for that. So when we talk about the Supreme Court, in this case, who did it? Alito, 5 people. It was a 5-4 decision. It wasn't even a big sweeping decision, and they rushed it through. And they allowed political spending to be kind of thrown in there too. First, it was just, do they have the right to say? It was a group that wanted to put out a video. All right, this is common now, so everybody knows it, but this was the beginning of that. And someone wanted to put out a video on Hillary Clinton, and they said, hey, that's too close to an election, and that's political spending, so that's a campaign ad. And the FEC got involved to stop them. They sued for their right on free speech. Some other operatives came in, people like McConnell and others came in and said, hey, throw political spending in there. They had been trying to win that war for a while. So they got it passed. And 100 years of history was flipped. And you and I started getting ads every 10 seconds. Every time. Look, I'm not a big TV watcher, but they reach me on my internet, on my radio, on my kids' school. My children coming home. And it wasn't with the knowledge of, guess what, Dad? Guess what we've done in America to create freedom and to express freedom and to fully live out our creed. It wasn't that. It was Donald Trump and Brian Kemp and all this mess. It was the garbage, right? That is not our politics, all right? And I'm afraid that you're going to have to do something a little bit easy, but it's going to have to be something intentional, right? So what I am thinking is modern people are busy people. Modern people are individualistic. Y'all want an easy way to be able to move together. There's certain things we got to play as a team sport. Everybody doesn't have to be the same. I accept and love and embrace all viewpoints. I don't care. However, if you are black and you are under threat of what some of these operators are doing against us over time, then you will want to do something very easy to give yourself power and to know what the issues are. Okay, so what is that? I will put up an app. It's on here. It's all over my my Instagram. It is a Black Progress Report card. Number 7 on that is media reform. We grade every black political leader and candidate according to 10 Black Progress grades, very simply. And one of them is media reform. Why media reform? Because of what I just told you. We want the ads to go. But I want you to see how intimately connected even the corruption of America is to exploiting you as a person. You have a power that you don't use, and I want you to use it. That is Black Man Goes. So we over and out. I ain't going to keep it long. One love. I'll put the link up for the report card. Let me know your feedback. It's in prototype status, but let me know your feedback, and I want it to go live in a couple months. Thank you.